When I found out I was pregnant, one of my biggest worries, aside from labor, was the size of our apartment. And while we were able to move from, our beautiful one bedroom apartment into a two-bedroom apartment, it was still something I thought about. It was still a constant, cause of concern because in my head I was like, where are all the baby things going to go? Where are we going to set up the play area? Where are we going to set up, the feeding station, and just so many things to think about. And honestly, if you've lived in a condo, you know how small these condos are, especially when you've lived in a condo in the GTA. So despite moving into a two-bedroom, I think we only gained about 80 square footage extra, an additional 80 square footage. So it didn't make so much of a difference. I mean, it matters, a two-bedroom, right? But I think what we forfeited to gain that extra bedroom was the living space, because the living space in our former apartment was, much bigger than what we have here. But nonetheless, we are still here a year later. My son is going to turn a month old very soon. And yeah, I'm surprised that we have been able to make it work. And we'll probably still be here for some time. And yeah, so with that in mind, today I'm going to be sharing about my setup and what actually worked. Basically, the things that were worth buying, the things I would probably skip on, and I wouldn't advise a new mom to buy. And so let's get into the video. So, as a new mom, I understand that it's very normal, absolutely normal, to feel pressure to get everything. I mean, this is your first rodeo, right? And you don't know what's necessary. You, even though we hear that every baby is different, but at the same time, you want to be prepared as much as you can. In my own case, it's a situation where I wasn't sure what my baby would need and what they would not need, what was necessary now and what wasn't necessary. And honestly, it's not like I was in the most buoyant situation. So I was trying to also maximize, minimize cost and maximize what I was spending on. Basically, trying to get things I could use over and over and over again. And I watched tons of YouTube videos like this one I'm making, which is why I feel like I owe, the community this video. Because honestly, shout out to all the moms out there who created videos. I watched all those videos. I watched even down to how to pack a diaper bag. If you want me to do that, I can do that as well. But basically, it was like I was like a newbie, just trying to gain as much knowledge as I could. And the internet was so helpful that period. But at the same time, there was also this quiet pressure to have it all. You want to give your baby the best. You also want to make sure that your baby is not, missing out on anything. But at the same time, we have to understand that you can't have it all. And even if you have it all, babies don't need it all. They just need a few things, which is a place to sleep, food to eat, and lots of love. So, like I said, in a nutshell, it's not unusual to compare your home to other homes or your nursery, quote unquote, to, other people's nurseries or how you're preparing for your child. But at the end of the day, children just need safety, good food, place to sleep, and responsive care. So, on that note, I'm going to walk you through my apartment. Basically, for a small condo, we know that there are just four main areas: the bedroom, the living space, the kitchen, and the bathroom. So, I'm going to walk through these areas as much as I can and just break down how we set that up and how it has worked for us for the past 1 year. Starting with the bedroom, for the sleeping arrangement, I was very, intentional about my son sleeping in the same room with us, at least for the first 1 year. And even though we had a two-bedroom, we had converted the first bedroom, or rather the second bedroom, into a guest room because my mom was going to be staying with us for a while, and slash office because my husband works from home a lot. So I wasn't really relying on that to be like a baby nursery because I feel like he's still very little. And maybe going forward, now we can talk about, him having his own room and stuff like that, even though for the most part, he sleeps in my room. So when we were setting up the bedroom, I was very big on him staying in our bedroom for the first 1 year, like I said. And with that in mind, I needed a crib that could fit into our room. And that decision influenced the kind of crib I went for. It made me skip the traditional bassinet, not because the bassinet would not have worked, it would have worked, but at the same time, I did not want to have clutter. If you know me, I hate clutter. I hate having to buy something and use it for a short period of time, which is what you do with a lot of baby items, and not know what to do with it after. So I was going to cut out as much of that decision as possible from my purchases. Whenever I was going to make a purchase, I just did not want to have to worry about, okay, what do I do, where do I store this? Storage. I just did not want to have to worry about storage because literally my under my bed is filled up with things. The cupboards are filled up with things. Like I just did not want any more thing like having to store anything else. So I got the Huzu 8-in-1 convertible crib. And how it works is that it starts off as a bassinet, which was perfect. It fits, beside my bed very well, comfortably well. And you can transition into a mini crib, and from the mini crib you can transition into a full crib, and from the full crib it transitions into a junior bed. So basically it grows with the child, at least for the first 5 years or more depending. And I really like the idea, and aside from that it also comes with crib mattresses, which is a bonus because I noticed that with other convertible cribs most times you have to buy your mattress, and this is just a one off. Admittedly, when you're buying it upfront, it's quite expensive, but I think it pays off. And another crib that was on my list was what which I was thinking about was Nestig. But my issue with Nestig crib was it's also convertible, but my issue with it was it did not have that mini crib option. It just went from the bassinet straight to the full crib, which I wasn't really sure if I liked because the full crib is, consumes more space and it takes up more space rather. And as opposed to the mini crib, which is a bit smaller. Also, while my son was sleeping with us in the bassinet, it was very easy to move him because I would do the night shifts and my mom would take over in the morning while I, got some sleep. So it was very easy to roll him out in his crib into her room and he's still sleeping, or during the daytime when, we are all in the living room, I could roll him out and just place him in the corner here, and you can carry on with your day's activity, including cooking, doing whatever I need to do while he's in his bassinet sleeping because babies sleep a lot. And now that he has grown, we have moved on to the mini crib. And the mini crib is a bit bigger. I think they say babies can use it up until 2 years old, depending on how tall or big your baby is. And yeah, he has been in the mini crib since about 4 months, 3, 4 months, yeah. And it's worked perfectly well. Sometimes he even plays in it, and I mean, once they learn to sit, you have to. The mini crib is lower than the bassinet, so but once they learn to sit and stand, you might have to take it a bit lower, and just for safety purposes. So right now, sometimes he even plays in it while we're in the bedroom together. I could be reading or something, and he's sitting in there playing and having a good time, staring at the window. And I think it's just a nice item. It's one of those items that I was very happy about in our bedroom setup. And so now moving on to storage. Storage was I wouldn't say I was so worried about storage because babies don't need much, right, in terms of clothing. So I just got like, the IKEA drawers. Yeah, I don't remember the name of the exact drawer set. Maybe if I remember, I'll put it here. But yeah, I got the drawer set and, put his diapers, his outfits, his bath towels, bob clothes, everything he could possibly need fits into that drawer. And There are some other, outfits that I would hang, maybe like sweaters or whatever. And as he outgrows each outfit, I moved them and, stored them away while making room for other things in his drawer. And honestly, the drawer has never been full, mostly because I did not buy a lot of outfits at a time because the weather is always changing. So as time went on, I was adding more clothing to what he needs. Moving on to the living room. The living room is exactly what it's called. The living room. We live here, we spend our day here, we play here. And I try to do that just so he can associate the bedroom more with sleep as opposed to being in there to play all the time. Yes, from time to time we spend time in the bedroom when it's not time to sleep. But most times I make sure that, he's here in the living room with us, and because it's an open concept space, he also, like, I can watch him while I'm cooking or doing anything in the kitchen. So, as promised at the beginning of this video, I was going to mention things that worked for us and things I would skip on. So, I'm going to start with, products I would buy again or I would advise anyone to buy if you're a new mom living in a small apartment. First one would be a plastic drawer organizer. You just need a drawer organizer because as much as you want everything to be accessible, you also need things to be stored away. Like you want to be able to, close the door and the clutter is hidden. I mean, if you organize it, it's probably not clutter, but at the same time, you just don't want things to be on your counter space. Anyone who has lived in a small apartment, the number one trick they know is take advantage of that, vertical storage solution. It's not every time you have to keep things down and visible. Sometimes you have to take advantage of that vertical storage solution, and this helps. So yeah, I would definitely buy that again because it was a lifesaver. Not only does it help you, store away these items, it's also very visible. You can see what's in each item, just looking what's in each storage bin, just looking at it. And it works. It works for me, worked for everyone who had a hand in feeding the baby. It was very straightforward. The second thing I would say is get yourself a play yard, a, foldable, playpen or whatever it is. I got this one for a couple of reasons. First, I love how these handles are made. It's very easy for him to pull himself up and play. Secondly, because it's foldable, it's you can move it around. I remember during my son's baptism, I was able to move these downstairs because we had the baptism on in the party room. I was able to move this downstairs and the kids played in it. It was a lot of fun. They had their own space to play freely, and yeah, it's we didn't have to worry so much about, where they were or the mess they were making because it's just in this one area. So I think this really helps. Also, I wouldn't say I keep the baby here all the time. Sometimes he actually has the freedom to move around, especially when I've just cleaned and mopped. But like I said, I don't want to run mad. There are days where I just want him to be in, one place where I can see him and know he's there while I move from room to room. So it's more predictable to know where he is when he's here because without this thing, my son is moving up and down. 1 minute you're in the kitchen and you think he's seated here and then you feel his hands on your legs. And now that he's pulling himself up, I don't want a situation where he uses, the TV stand to pull himself up or just something dangerous or he falls. It's just a lot with children. You can never be too safe. So I would say this is perfect for me. In fact, there are other times where we also go out and sit in the balcony with the playpen. So because it's foldable and movable, I can move it around wherever I need it to be. So we sit in the balcony, we play in it. Sometimes he eats in it as well. It's it's a nice to have. And for me, in my own case, it was a must have. Again, it's expensive upfront, but I think it's worth the price. The second thing would be a booster chair. I did not want to have I wouldn't say I did not want. I loved the idea of having a high chair because baby led winning. But at the same time, I did not want to have extra clutter. Once again, I just did not want a situation where I am worrying about, okay, where do I keep the high chair? And to be honest, I did do my research on high chairs. I was primarily focused on high chairs that could fold up or had multiple uses. I remember before I got a bouncer, I was looking at I forget the name of this high chair. I'll probably take note of it. But I was looking at those high chairs because they also come with, like, they can turn into learning towers. They can turn into, it could also be a bouncer and it turns into a high chair. I love things like that, convertible items. But my God, was it expensive? And I just was not having it. There was no way I was going to spend that amount on a high chair. So, as an alternative, I decided to get a booster seat. And honestly, when I got the booster seat, I wasn't really getting it as a replacement for a high chair at first. I got it because I wanted my son to learn how to sit upright. And as time went on, I realized that, oh, this is not bad. It can actually work as a high chair because with the opposite booster seat, it comes with straps that you can strap to the back of the chair, as well as strap him in. And my son tries to touch everything, trust me. And even when he's bending and tilting and moving around, that chair does not go anywhere. He's safe, he's there, and it just makes more sense because I'm just strapping it to a chair we already have here. And there were times when I would bring it before he was, he could move around. I would put him on the chair and just strap him in here and he stayed there, or keep place him on the floor. It's movable. I love things that are movable. I love things that are convertible. I just love things that serve multiple purposes. And I think when you're staying in a small apartment, that's what you really need. It makes you more creative with these items. Another item that I think is very, very important, even though on the contrary, I have seen this in a lot of, oh, you don't need this list for other moms. But for me, I think it was very important and I still use it till this day. In fact, it's even more important today than it was at the beginning, and that's a diaper pill. Because my God, as your child starts solid, the smell is out of this world. You need something to contain that smell, at least for the time being, before you can take the trash out. And I know there were people who said, oh, we just put it in the regular bin. And, when we take out the trash at the end of the day, you take it out. I can't do that. I'm sorry. This apartment is too small for a baby poop to be in a regular bin because it's going to stink up the whole place. So I got a diaper pill, and thankfully I got that as a gift. It was on my registry, and my friend gifted that to me. It has been so good, so helpful. And yeah, it helps make sure that our house stays smelly nice and fresh, even though we have a child. Next on my list, and I think this is another one that I don't know. Some people say it's important, some people say it's not important, but to me, I think it's been valuable, is a change mat. Of course, we did not have space for a change table, and I don't think it's really important to have a change table. Some people say it's good. I don't know. But for me, the change mat worked because I changed him wherever there was a flat surface, on the floor, on the bed, on the couch. And all I just need to do is whip out the change mat and change him. And I saw those disposable pee pads and whatnot, but I didn't really like them. First of all, they are very light. Secondly, they are things that you need to dispose at all times, and then you buy again and buy again. And I don't know, it just didn't work for me, especially when you're in public, right? When you go to public restrooms and you use that slab, those disposable pink pee pads. I don't know. I just feel like it's too porous, or maybe whatever is in my head. I just don't like the idea of them. So I got this full leather pee pads. They come in a set of two. I have one in his diaper bag for when we're on the move, and the other one is just lays around whenever he needs to be changed. Hold on. I'm gonna bring it. Okay, so this is what it looks like. It's um it's just a regular mat, and I think it's quite big. The measurements, I was very particular about the measurements because I needed something that would not, quickly, he would not outgrow too quickly. And I think it's really nice. It looks good, it folds nicely. All you just need to do is make sure you sanitize it, especially when you use it in public, and sanitize it after use, clean it up, and yeah, you're good to go. And we've been using it over and over and over again, and it's quite comfortable. It's I won't say it's the thickest, but it's thick enough for baby to use without feeling like they are on the hard surface. Yeah. Lastly, I would say get a good diaper bag. And your diaper bag does not have to be a diaper bag. Like I said, I watched all the videos and I also searched for a diaper bag. And I just did not like all the diaper bags I was seeing. Already, I use like a school bag to the office when I'm walking. And I don't know, I'm not really a handbag person. I prefer school bags because it's more functional for me. So I was like, you know what? I don't like these diaper bags. I'm not in a hurry to get a diaper bag. I'm just going to, use my regular school bag, pending when I see something I like. And coincidentally, this day I just walked into Winners and I saw this bag. And I love this bag for a couple of reasons. First off, it's, the color. I love the color green. It's beautiful. It's waterproof resistance as well. So it's easy to wipe through. It's not like a cloth bag or anything like that. It's not the most chic, but it's also not too diaper baggy. It's something that I could wear proudly and move around wherever I go. It's also big enough to contain whatever he needs, his toys, his diaper, his wipes. It's just functional. And I think that's the best to go with because even when he starts daycare, I intend to convert this into his daycare bag. Even though it's not a kiddie's bag, but I think it still fits, whatever age he is. Even as a child, a toddler, this bag is functional. So I'm going to use it until it tears, which I don't know if it will or when it will, but yeah, I'll be using it for a long time. And I think that's very important. Just things you can use for a long time. So those are how many items? I don't know, 7 items that I think have been beneficial to me that I would buy again and I would advise anyone to get, especially if you're living in a small apartment. So now that we have, the things I would buy again and the things I love out of the way, let's talk about the things I should probably skip on or I would advise you to skip on that they're just nice to have, but I wouldn't necessarily get them again for the ones I've already gotten, and I wouldn't advise you to get them. And the number one on the list is a bottle sterilizer. Whew. So, like I said, if you're doing the whole bottle feeding and pumping and whatnot, I understand that it can be exhausting having to wash bottles and pumps. I mean, kudos to moms who strictly bottle feed. I could not do it. I mean, I did it for a while, but the minute my mom left and it was just me and my husband, I just did not see the need to do it because pumping, washing the bottles, washing the pumps. It's I was going crazy. And as much as it's nice to have someone else feed the baby, I just didn't see the point of doing it because most times it was just myself and the baby. My husband would go to work and it was just both of us. And I didn't see the point of, having to go through all that stress. So I just went straight to feeding. Do I regret doing that? Yes, I do. But that's conversation for another day because now this child would not take a bottle. But yeah, that's conversation for another day. But yeah, if you're intending to nurse most of the time, I don't think having a bottle sterilizer is important. There are these bag sterilizers. Even just putting these bottles in hot water is enough. You don't need a whole sterilizing, equipment to know that you're sterilizing the bottles. Also, I think as opposed to getting a bottle sterilizer, I would say just go all out and get the bottle washer and sterilizer because that's just knowing that okay, if you're going to do it right, right? It washes the bottles, it sterilizes it. That's better. But what I got was just the bottle sterilizer, Dr. Brown. I mean, I got it from during a yard sale. My friend got it for me during a yard sale for I think $25, which was a steal. So I was like, why not? And it was helpful. I loved it while it lasted. And but now, like I said, I didn't really use it for more than 2 months, and now I don't know where to keep it. It's just so big. I stashed it somewhere in in the wardrobe, and I hope to sell it or give it out. I don't know. It's just there. I don't need it. You don't use it for long. So yeah, I would advise you to get that, except if you want to get the bottle washer and sterilizer, which I don't know if that's what you want to do. Go ahead, do it, go all out. Basically, what I'm saying is if you're going to get, you know, a sterilizer, get the bottle washer. Let it be a washer and sterilizer. Go all out on it. And if you're not going to get a washer, then I don't think you need a sterilizer. Second thing is shoes for babies. Babies do not need shoes. Babies do not need shoes. The first time my child wore a shoe was when he was 9 months old, and that was during his baptism. And I only got him shoes because I felt, oh, okay, now he wants to stand, he wants to cruise, and all that. And it just looked good, having him wear white shoes on that day. But we hasn't worn any shoes since then. He just moves barefoot, and it's even summer, right? Maybe if they were during the winter months, I would think about booties and all that. But my point is, babies below 1 year old really do not need shoes. In fact, shoes do not even help them when they are walking, because it's better for them to walk barefoot, right? Without socks or shoes. It gives them more balance, adapt during those beginning stages. So I would say no need to go all out on shoes. Just hold off. And if your child is starting to walk like during the summer months, and maybe just get them like sandals, one pair of nice booties, and maybe Crocs. I think Crocs are cool. Yeah. The third thing is baby food maker. It's cute. It looks functional. It looks like the best thing since sliced bread because it steams, it blends the food, and you can portion it and put into pouches. It just looks so wonderful. I haven't used it, so maybe it's just as wonderful as the ads look, but they're not convincing to me. As opposed to getting that, just get a blender. I got a blender. I blend the baby's food, and this blender, my blender comes with like two smoothie cups. I don't know. So I just dedicated one for the baby and one for us. Just blend the food. You don't need the whole. And how long does it really take to steam? You can just steam in a regular thing. Like I said in my last video, I had to change my pots, specifically from because my child, was starting solids, and also for our health. But he was the one at the forefront of my mind when I made that decision. And you boil or steam or cook his food in the same pan. In fact, these days he eats what we eat, just a more modified version of what we eat, which is without salt and pepper or sugar or whatever. But for the most part, he eats what we eat, and yeah, you don't need baby food maker. Trust me. But if you want to get it, do you? The next one is a nursing cape. I was gonna get a nursing cape, that the cape you wear over your head to nurse your baby and whatnot. But I don't remember why I did not get it, but I found out eventually that I didn't need it. I just used his blanket. And I do that in public, wherever I need to feed him. Sometimes to make it easier, you can choose to just knot the blanket like so, and yeah, it turns into a cape. And honestly, after a while, my son hated being under any kind of blanket. So this is what I do. I just wear it over my head, and yeah, I nurse him. And it works. It's just like a nursing cape. You don't need a dedicated nursing cape to nurse your baby. But if you want to get it again, do you? But like I said, you really don't need it. This works for me. It works as a blanket, it works as a nursing cape, and just as functional. And besides, the boy hates to be covered these days. So I just choose not to use it, especially or nurse him in public because I'm weaning him off already. So nursing capes clearly are just one of those things that after a while they stop working. Your child would probably be like mine who hates it and just does not want his face covered. He wants to explore the world while he has his milk. Another thing I would say I got, but I don't know if it's, I would skip on it if I could, or maybe borrow, because I think it was just, it was good. It was helpful during that developmental stage, but it's very short use. Like you don't use it for a long time, and those are bouncers. I remember I was contemplating getting bouncers. I contemplated for so long, and then my son had to be admitted at the hospital. And while he was there, the nurses provided a bouncer, and I saw how he engaged with it. He was so happy being there, and I felt so bad because I was like, "Oh, I should have just gotten this thing for him." So thankfully, we came home, and immediately we came home, I decided to get a bouncer. But instead of getting like, the regular bouncers, I decided to get something that quote unquote he would grow into, because it says he can continue to sit in it, I think to 18 months or thereabout. I forget the weight. But yeah, he can sit in it for a long time. It's comes with the snack tray, comes with the keyboards under, and he loves it. He still sits in it from time to time. But I think right now he's just at that stage where he doesn't want to sit still. He just wants to move around. And maybe when he's done moving around and he's tired, he would come back to his first love, the bouncer. But I would say if you can borrow, borrow. But if you want to get one, it's fine. I think this is one of those items that I'm in the middle about, because it's nice to see them, reach for toys. But like I said, it's so short lived that it's difficult to justify the price, and not just the price, but just justify the, the real estate space it takes up. But yeah, this one, thankfully, this is also foldable. So right now it's folded and tucked under his crib, pending when he remembers it. So it's in the middle. Lastly, is a fancy high chair. Like I explained, I mean, I skipped the whole high chair thing and I went for baby boosters. But at the same time, I have come to understand that fancy high chairs are not so important. You can just get the IKEA, the I think it's $28, $24, and it does the job. Like literally, a high chair is just for your baby to sit and eat. And I know it comes with these add-ons where you can, put the food stand and whatnot. If you have the space for a high chair, because those things take up space, you can go for the IKEA one. The IKEA one is like I can that's antelope. It's like an antelope. It's just so I forget the name. I think ante something, but it's just so big, right? But it's cheap. It does gets the job done. If you have the space, once again, go for that. There's no need to go for like a fancy high chair or one of those high chairs that they say you would use from age 6 months to 90 years old. Really, are you really going to be keeping that till 90 years old? I don't know, but it's not worth it. I don't think it's worth it. So yeah, those are the items I would skip on if I had to do this over, or if I had to advise you. Well, except the bouncer. The bouncer is, like I said, 50-50. But yeah, those are those items that I would skip on if I had to do this over. So, if you're expecting and you're worried about your apartment being too small, I hope you find this video encouraging, because at the end of the day, a bigger home is not what makes you feel ready for a baby. What matters is not the size of your home, but the size of the love in it. In our case, we wanted to ensure that, we created a home that felt safe for our child and fit our family's routine, and not just something that looked good on social media. Also, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. Is there anything I've mentioned here that you would be getting? And I'm also open to the contradictions. If there's anything, that I have mentioned that you think is absolutely necessary, but I have said it's not, let me know your thoughts. And yeah, until next time, remain steady. Bye.